What do you think about this? Is it a sort of obvious, just evolving? We're evolving as a culture where our economics has to reflect that.
Absolutely. Pension ages just have to go up. Life expectancy when I was born was 68 for a man and 72 for a woman. It's now well above 80 for both. Yeah. And, you know, that has to be... The pension system wasn't designed to keep people for, in many cases, more years than they actually worked. Yeah. And yet a lot of these pension costs fall on taxpayers and other workers. And, of course, lots of people, unfortunately, don't have pensions. Yeah. But what I wanted to mention to you today is that there's a conference going on up in Manchester.
Oh, I've been talking about it all morning.
At this conference, we've had, you know, Michael Gove's there, Lisa Nandy's there, his Labour shadow. They're going to be talking about the vision of levelling up. Is it real? Is it just a slogan? The IPPR, which is the Institute for Public Policy Research, the Northern Branch, it's a kind of centre-left think tank. They've come up with some interesting numbers. They claim that the north of England, if it was treated as a country per head, of all the OECD countries, they're the sort of 38 advanced industrialised countries around the world. Only Greece would have a lower level of investment than the north of England. They're talking about investment in transport, investment in social infrastructure, public spaces, and so on. That's a pretty damning number. Yeah. The IPPR talk about vast inequalities across the UK and systemic underinvestment. And, of course, I was up in the northeast last week checking out what's going on at that Britishvolt factory in Camas near the deep water port of Blythe. And I said to you, I think a couple of days ago, I think new bidders will emerge for that site because it's such a great site. It's got huge potential. Yeah. Blythe means you can export the batteries. You've got lots of renewable energy coming in off the North Sea. The site used to be where a power plant was. It's all hooked up to the national grid. Lots of that expensive stuff is already done. And overnight, from Australia, a new bidder has emerged, and this will be huge news up in the northeast, and it really feeds into the levelling up debate. And the new bidder is called Recharge Industries. It's an Australian company from a New York-based parent. It's a company that's saying it can provide the battery plant in the northeast of England with a lot of the rare earths and the other minerals that you need to make these lithium-ion batteries, which otherwise come from China or Africa. Yeah. So they're saying there's a kind of strategic fit going on there.
So not just coming in with money?
Not just coming in with money, but coming in with actual sector industry expertise. So we'll have to see. I mean, I do think this factory will be built in Camas, not least because the government really wants it to be built. It is, you know, it will be only the UK's second gigafactory. I'm told by industry sources we need 6, 8, 10 gigafactories to make these car batteries if we are going to fulfil the government's pledge to ban petrol and diesel cars, new sales of new petrol and diesel cars by 2030.
Well, that's good news.
It is good news, but also I think there's a kind of high-stakes game of poker going on. Again, as I said to you before, any new bidder will want the government to up the amount of government support that it's giving the plant. The government previously committed to 100 million for Britishvolt, but Britishvolt had to get certain amounts of private sector investment to unlock that 100 million quid. Anyone that looks at this site, looks at British politics, knows, look at this conference today, the Tory government has to prove that levelling up really means something. We had that round of levelling up funding last week, huge rows, 4.6 billion. Oh, lots of it's going to Tory seats, and you know the Tories obviously deny that. So they want to show that they can make big projects happen, and this plant at Camas would be the biggest investment in the North East since Nissan in the mid-1980s. Huge. Wow. Huge. It's a £3.6 billion plant. Yeah. So the government desperately wants it to happen, and any private sector bidder knows that. So I think there's going to be a lot of gamesmanship, as it were, waiting for the government to put more money in order to get more private sector investment in as the election approaches.
Yeah, I'm sure. Just one last thing. This isn't on our agenda to talk about, but yesterday you were warning me about how my electricity company might have loads of my money that is mine. They have. I went back and I checked. Well, I didn't. My mother spent all that yesterday afternoon, inspired by you, on the phone to my energy provider. And they've got about 1,500 quid of my money that they owe me because I've overpaid via the direct debit.
That's right.
Just sum up for people what's happened and what they could do about it.
Well, the electricity companies, particularly if you've got a smart meter, they say, oh, it's all about smoothing your bills and making your finances easier to manage. No, it's all about you, electricity company, having my money that I might need. and I'm not charging you interest.
And people need it right now.
People need the money, but a lot of the electricity companies are sitting on millions and millions of pounds of people's money. And, you know, they'll deny that there's a problem. Of course they will. What if they go bust?
Yeah.
Does that money come back?
Yeah. But even just if you're struggling to meet your mortgage payments this month, the chances are your energy...
And so we're getting energy prices coming down on the wholesale markets, but direct debit's going up.
Yeah.
And that's partly because electricity companies are taking extra money to try and smooth your bills in the future.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think this whole...
It's a scam.
Again, the electricity companies deny any wrongdoing, but I think Ofgem, the regulator, should be all over this.
I agree. And in the meantime, get in touch with your energy provider and find out what your balance is and whether they owe you some money.